Alright, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory unto the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who rule well. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Ahmad Bayan coming to you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Alright, and this one here is just basically on the fires that is taking place in Canada. You know, it started somewhere in the middle of yesterday, the 14th, into today. You know, today is what, the 15th, right? And no, today is 16th Salakia. Alright, it happened the middle of the 14th. You know, into the 15th, which was yesterday, right? And you know, watching the videos and whatnot, it shows, you know, how this place, Babylon, aka America, is going to be destroyed. You know, and you know, all this fire that taking place also is because of their stuff that they want to bring across. You know, they want to set up their the data centers. You know, they want to basically set up for the new world order. All right, that's what they want to do, right? And I want to play a video here real quick. You know, basically based on it. You know, we're gonna get some other videos also. We're going to get one or two scriptures, and Lord willing, this lesson here is going to be edifying to the elect of Israel. Alright, so listen to what this woman here is saying, basically pertaining to the fires. Alright, but before that, let me just play this real quick.
People are talking about it. More than 830 wildfires, according to latest weather reports, are currently ravaging rural parts of Canada. This video was taken in northern Ontario of someone fleeing fires behind them on a small boat in a river or a lake. In the past 24 hours, authorities say 23 plus new wildfires appeared across Canada. And the only reason many Americans know this is even happening is because if you live in Midwestern states or in the Northeast, wildfire smoke is impacting your air quality. It is extremely hazardous in places like Michigan, Wisconsin. New York was practically orange for times yesterday. There are even concerns about the World Cup final, given the air quality that will be presented as a result of the winds pushing the smoke down into the United States. In Canada, this is absolutely horrific. And if you live anywhere near the fires, I am praying for you truly. We need to keep talking about this because the Canadians need the world's support in this moment. Follow for more. Canada.
All right, and you know that image behind there, you know, it shows that it representing also how Babylon is going to be burning, where everyone is going to stand from afar off. You know, in Revelation 18, you know, people are going to stand from afar off and look at that place, that great place, that great whore. All right, Babylon the Great, aka America, being burnt, right? So let me just get another video here real quick, and we're gonna hear what the lady's saying.
I'm going to say what nobody else has said out loud about the wildfires that are happening in northern Ontario right now. I'm talking about the wildfire that just wiped out an entire town. I don't believe that it's a coincidence that these fires are happening in the areas where the people of Indigenous coalition against the Ring of Fire and the development of the land through their homes. Critical minerals, that's the hot topic, right? That's the big thing around the world. That's a big deal. For Canada to have these critical minerals, Doug Ford has done all of these things step by step in order to make it possible for him to put the foot on the neck of all of the people involved in the Indigenous First Nations coalition that have been against the building of this all access, all year road. Webekwe First Nations chief agreed to allow access through their land last year, and he was given up to $39.5 million for the community, which is nothing, especially compared to what kind of money they're going to be pulling. By they, I mean the government of Ontario, Doug Ford, and the government of Canada is going to be pulling out a ring of fire. And then the Martin Falls chief followed suit, and he also agreed to go ahead with his permission in order to build this all-access road, which is what all of the coalition of the First Nations in Northern Ontario were saying no to for years. And that's actually for years what was holding up all of the mining companies from all over the world who have already paid for their mining spots, their lots. They're just now waiting for easy access to get in there and mine it so that it doesn't cost them as much money in order to do so.
And that's that's the way of Esau. Overall, Esau like to come into your land and take it by how violence, and he's known as what, the violent man, right? Esau is known as that violent man. Esau is known to come into your land and take what you have, right? This is Micah 2. We start from verse 1, right? It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand." Verse 2 is the point here. It says, "And they cover it fields and take them by violence," right? They're always using violence to take something. Esau is a man that got blessed with his sword, right? Esau's sword is his military, his police officers, his bioweapons, all his weaponry, the fighter jets and all these things, the tankers, all this is part of Esau's sword, right? And this is how he rules, right? He has his collider, his machine over there that he could create earthquakes. He have his machinery, in skies that could tamper with the clouds. It could tamper with the rain. It could tamper with the heat. It could tamper with the wind, right? This is the technology that Esau has, right? So he could use these things when it is he wants something and he don't get what he wants. He could take it by violence. All right. That's why it says here in verse 1 again. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity," right? "And work evil upon their beds," right? Their beds is not the literal bed, but like the round tables, the summit and all these things, where they sit and they come together and they make agreements with each other, that, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to pursue it, and so forth, right? It says, "When the morning is light, they practice it," right? Because it is in the power of their hand. All right, let's read it in the NLT. It says, what sorrow awaits you who lie awake at night, think up evil plans, right? You rise at dawn and hurry to carry them out, simply because you have the power to do so, right? They have the power. They have the blessing of the sword, right? Now they could believe, as the woman speaking about the roadway, what you call it? Right now, all of them, they're looking to push this this AI data center, to push their new world order, in order for their technology to run, the way they wanted to run it used a lot of water, you know. It used a lot of water, so they buy a lake area there, right? So clearly, you know, it's not a coincidence, right? It says verse 2 in the KJV, it says, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Right? Let's read it in the NLT. It says, when you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. Right? This is a way that they're using to seize it. Right? As the lady speaking about here. Right? They're looking for a way to seize the people's land. Right? So they could put their own agenda. They could push their own agenda. Right? Because after the land is burnt up, you know, the people who claim that they already own lands there, you know, they won't be able to get it, you know, because it basically considered as a place that is destroyed. Right? So Esau already has these legislation and whatnot put down to benefit himself. Right? Because really and truly, if you think about it, if you have a land, right, you have your own land and your land has happen to burn down, right, it's still basically your land really, you know, you can still build on it and do whatever you have to do. But these devils, they put legislation out there that, you know, they put their stuff out there that, you know, they take away the rights from people where people do have, you know, if something do happen, they could seize it. You know, then that means that it's not yours again, right? That come like if your vehicle burned down, you know, they will tell you, you know, well, what you going to do with the vehicle? You have to throw it away now, you know, something like that, you know. Let me just get a script here real quick. All right, let me finish it off and I'll get the script here. This is Habakkuk 2 again. Habakkuk still here. Again, excited. Micah 2 and 2. In the NLT, it says, when you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence, right? You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance, right? This is the way of Esau Edom. This is the way of this devil, right? He is a violent man. 144 just now, right? All praises to Bashim Yahushai. This man is a violent man, right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees, that write grievousness which they have not prescribed, which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. Right? This is the mindset of Esau. Right? All he know about is robbing and stealing, taking things by violence. Right? Now let me get some other videos there real quick.
Another thing I believe that Doug Ford is doing in order to assist this easy access critical minerals in Northern Ontario, so he's taking over the island in Toronto, which has Billy Bishop Airport. The people there have gone through decades and decades of having fights over whether or not they can stay there or whether or not it needs to be further developed, with different governments coming in trying to do so.
And you hear what she said there? Basically, you know, as we read just now in the script here, you know, they're taking land by violence. They will come up with ways to basically seize your land, right? They'll be like, hey, all of y'all arguing over a piece of land and whatnot, I go take it then, you know. So it's nothing for Esau to just use his technology to cause some sort of fire, all right, burn down the place, right, and then come and do what? Come and rebel on top of that, you know, basically, and seize the whole land, right? Because he put certain things in place that he could be able to do that, right? And this is just how these devils are, right? Now, I went to the comment, and it, I find it hilarious how this person here say, this first comment, it says here, why isn't the US ever on fire? Why it is always Canada, right? Now, guess what? The US, right, Babylon the Great, aka America, is going to be on fire very soon, right? Which is going to lead to the
I believe that the Billy Bishop Airport is
Salakia, which is going to lead to the other video that I'm going to show here.
Sa araw na yon, sabi ng Diyos,
right? Now it's not video, it's a picture, right? A slide basically, right? And it's showing you the place being burned down, right? Now watch these images here I'm showing you that people taken, that someone took from afar off watching this place burning, right? And you realize the area that is burning down and whatnot that they're trying to basically seize, and it have this lake, this river, where they could be able to still use also for that AI system, right, that they want to bring, that data center, right, that is using up a lot of water, right? But these devils already put their plan out there, all right? We read it in Micah 2:1, right? They work out iniquities, and so forth and so forth, right? These images, and these images just remind me of Revelation 18. We could get that real quick. Revelation 18, because what the person asks in the comment, why it is the US never on fire, but that is going to come to pass very soon, right? We can start from verse 1. The point is really by 9-10 around there. Alright, let me see if I could start up higher to get a sense of what it is going to happen. Revelation 18:1, it says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. You know who's coming with all glory? Yahweh Shai. Alright? The one they ignorantly call Jesus Christ today, and they also ignorantly call Yeshua. Alright? That none of those names is his name. His name is Yahweh Shai. He saves, he delivers. Alright? And he's coming with all glory on a massive fathership. Alright? With a bands of with thousands and thousands, millions of angels. Right? It says, and he cried mighty with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils and of and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. That place, Babylon the Great, aka America, is going to be basically like Sodom and Gomorrah. It's going to be desolated, right? It says here, verse 2. No, I read verse, sorry. Verse 3. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye may be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Right? And that plague that is coming upon Babylon the Great, aka America, is the ICBM missiles. Right? Right? These term, these missiles that is going to be launched by Russia, by China, by NATO, by all these other nations, right? All these nations are going to do what? Turn against Babylon, right? aka America. All right, this is why Trump wants to build a golden dome, because he's creating a lot of enemies, right? And all these nations is going to come together because, hey, you know how the saying does go. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So all these nations is going to gather up and come together and launch the missiles at Babylon, all right? And that come out of her, my people. That voice that it says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, and be not partakers of her sins. It's basically the Lord delivering up his elect, all right? Which is basically the excuse me, the 1/3 that is going to be taken up, starting with the 144,000 elect, right? They're going to be basically primarily take up from on that side, right? It says, verse 5, it says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and power has remembered her iniquities, right? Because right now, a lot of people find that America, Babylon the Great, America, spiritual Egypt, is not being touched, is not being punished, all right? They getting away a lot, they getting away with murder, they getting away with a lot of things, right? But the Lord is bringing judgment upon them very soon, right? Verse 6, it says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her according to her. Salakia, let me read over this. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she has filled, fill to her double. How much she has glorified herself, right? Because Babylon the Great is known as that great whore, right? She's very proud. And what does happen to a whore? When a woman is being a whore, what has happened to her? She's put out in the field, and the people around the city and whatnot, what they just do, they just stone her to death, right? And that is what's going to happen to Babylon the Great. She is going to be stoned to death by nuclear bombs, right? Abarataza, all right? It says, so much torment. Salakia. Verse 7, it says, how much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrows. Right? So she believed that, Babylon believed that they are never going to be touched. Right? They could do all kind of wickedness and nothing will happen to them. Alright? It says here, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. Right? And that fire is going to come by thermal nuclear fire. Alright? 200 million missiles is going to hit Babylon. Alright? It's going to desolate that place. Right? It says here, for strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. Alright? The Lord in lower caps there, it's talking about Yahweh Shai. Because Yahweh Shai is coming on that massive fathership. Right? With his angels. Alright? To render vengeance upon Babylon, aka America. Alright? America is known as that melting pot. Right? That is that great altar. Right? It says, verse 9, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail for her and lament for her when they shall see her, the smoke of her burning. Right? Before another chime on that. Right? And that is where, this picture come from. This picture remind me of. Right? People are going to stand up far off and watch this place burning down. Right? You're seeing it here. Right? People are going to stand from afar off and watch this place burning. Right? This is the fate of Babylon the Great. Right? It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, which is America, right? That mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come, right? Because the Lord say in 1 hour he's going to destroy that place, right? Verse 11, it says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore. Right? Why no man would be able to buy the merchandise anymore? Because that place is going to be no more. People are going to mourn and whatnot. Oh gosh, I can't buy nothing. I can't get more stuff over there. I can't order things and bring it in and ship it back over on this side again. Hey, fuck away with them place. They did, hey, Esau Edom is going down. And this is what we're seeing. Right? This is what we're seeing. We're seeing the downfall of Babylon the Great, aka America. Alright? This is what we're seeing right now. Verse 12, it says, the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and the pearls and fine linens, and purple and silk and scarlet, and all thine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble, right? And cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. Right? The Lord showing you all the things that is going to be burnt up, all the things that is not going to be no more anymore, that's going to be no more again. Right? They ain't going to have nothing there. So people are going to stand afar off and watch this place burnt. Right? We seeing it here. Right? We seeing it here. This is the fate of Esau Edom. This is the fate of Babylon the Great. Right? This is what's going to take place with Esau. Right? The scripture says Esau is the end of the world. Right? 2nd Ezra 6 and 7. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that follow it? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hands held first the heel of Esau, representing what? The pulling down a stronghold, right? Representing Esau's kingdom fallen, right? Right now the Lord is consuming Esau by the spirit of his mouth, which is coming, by the prophets, right? By we preaching this word and bringing it to pass. And this is why Esau wants to bring a stop to this word. This is why he wants to stop this word from getting out there. This is why he wants to stop us from preaching on the highways and byways. This is why he's coming against all religions right now and saying, well, you know, or they stop speaking about your gods and whatnot. Stop reading the Bible and all these things. Read this Bible. He wants you to read his own Bible. He wants you to worship his God. Right? Really and truly, he's targeting us. Alright? So-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians today. For another chime on that. This is why he's targeting us. Because he's seeing so-called black men standing on the highways and byways and preaching. Right? He's seeing us waking up. So he don't want this word to be out there. Right? So he's trying his best to stop this word. But at the end of the day, as the scriptures say, you can't do anything against the truth, but for the truth. Everything that Esau is doing right now is for the truth, is for his destruction. Verse 9, it says, for Esau, right, which is the so-called white man, the top banking families, the elites. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, right, the end of an age, an end of a rulership. And Jacob, which is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians today, is the beginning of it that follow it, which means we have next. So with that, I would like to give all praises and glory unto the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who rule well. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Ahmad Bayan signing out, and I will say Shalom and Abad Babal. Shalom Israel.